Well, as we mentioned, the president today saying he will name indeed a point person to deal with the Ebola crisis in the U.S. And we now know his name. The Ebola Czar is Ron Klain, former chief of staff to Al Gore and later to Joe Biden. But he has no health care background. Well, that we know of. All right, Judge, I want to go to you first on this. Looking at his resume, nothing on logistics, not like a general, not with military experience, can implement sort of a battle plan because this is a crisis. No healthcare background, no infectious disease background, just a political background.
Well, you just kind of teed that one up for me, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
I mean, first of all, I don't understand the whole czar concept. It didn't work out for Russia so well. So why do we keep naming czar after czar after czar? How many have we had now? 40 or something?
Quite a bit.
Ridiculous number. And he's just a bureaucrat. I mean, it looks to me, from an outside perspective, because this has nothing to do with the law, you just want somebody so that we can say, we're doing something, we appointed a czar. What actually is going to get done? What really should get done is something that might actually protect people. You know, maybe actually stopping the flights coming into the country. You know, that would be productive. Appointing somebody, naming somebody who's not even in the field, to me, seems like a colossal waste of time.
And Judge, you brought up czars and how effective they've been. Let's take a quick look at some of the czars that President Obama has appointed over the years. Van Jones, remember that one, who called Republicans the A word and not awesome. Kevin Jennings, the safe school czar. Herb Allison was the TARP czar. Sandra can probably tell us how that worked out. Elizabeth Warren, remember her? The 1/1000th of an, whatever fraction. She was the Native American. Well, she was also on there as the consumer czar. Carol Browner was the global warming czar. So as the judge points out, not a good history with czars, not just in Russia, but here.
A global warming czar. I mean, this is fact.
Someone who can actually stop global warming with their magical fingers.
Yeah, what exactly is this czar going to do? Absorb all of the Ebola virus into his chest like a superhero? We're not getting anything. Information czar is the one that I love because that's the one thing we're not getting is information.
And that's a good point, Andrea. If I may, I spoke with Tommy Thompson yesterday. He's a former governor of Wisconsin, also the former head of Health and Human Services, who's been very outspoken, very critical of this administration's handling of Ebola. He just tweeted this out moments ago. He said, quote, "Appointing a political Ebola czar demonstrates administration did not take public health seriously. It did not have the right people in place." And Kirsten, now we're naming an Ebola czar that has no medical background. Isn't this more of the same?
See, I actually disagree. I don't think that he needs to have medical background. I think the people who had medical background were mishandling this. I mean, we saw how the CDC mishandled this. I think they need somebody who actually understands sort of how. I mean, Ron Klain isn't just a bureaucrat. I mean, he was more of a, I think, a political operative. You know, he was a political appointee in multiple administrations, and he's very well respected. And I think that the goal is to have somebody who can really kind of get people together, figure out what's going on, and try to have some sort of process that just honestly does not exist with the people who understand the health issues.
But
and
I want
why
to
not
stay
get
on
somebody
this.
who's in the military that's used to organizing and
there are people
deploying?
I want to stay on that, though, because you mentioned that he is a political operative, and I want to stay on that because we talked about a czar on this couch earlier this week, and I said anybody but a political hack.
I don't think he's a hack, though.
How can you say that, Kirsten? He's basically Biden's chief of staff to keep him from stepping in cow manure.
So chief of staff is a hack. So
he's helped Al Gore. He's coached them for debates. Isn't he there just to do political damage control and not really fix the crisis?
Is your argument seriously the vice president to the chief of staff is to prevent him from sticking his foot in his mouth? Hack? I mean, that's absurd.
Kirsten, how can you say that Ron Klain is not he's a very smart guy, but he is there to save the image of the Democrats right now? He is there to orchestrate, to make sure that there is a message that people are getting good information, something they have not been getting, and that is very problematic. It causes fear. And I think he's there to be somebody who can try to get a group of people together that clearly don't know what they're doing,
Kirsten,
and try to have some sort of process. I mean, the idea that you think these infectious disease people are doing a good job, we need somebody with infectious disease. We never said that.
Kirsten, but look at the track record of the czar appointees in the past that Andrea just mentioned. I mean, Harris, I know you've looked at them.
You guys picked out the 5 czars that have been problematic out of 40 people who have not been problematic.
But Kirsten,
and you also let me say, you're pretending like the only people that ever had a czar in an administration. is Barack Obama. Are you under the impression that Barack Obama
Here's my point,
czars?
Harris.
Oh,
Bill
no,
Clinton.
I don't like.
I'd get rid of czars across the board. I don't care if
George Bush
Republican or
had
Democrat.
czars. I mean,
Let's
it's
get
not like
Harris
he
in
didn't
here.
invent it.
Harris, Bill Clinton never would have had someone like this appointed to be the czar. He probably would have had him in the room. But do you think it's smart to have
someone like this?
who's
This is like character assassination against Ron Klain. What is the problem with Ron Klain?
Wait a minute. Ron Klain was responsible for the character assassination of Clarence Thomas.
I don't like.
Was
Based
he
on
not?
what? How was he? Ron Klain really is ultimately the only person that's responsible for how Thomas was treated.
He is.
I mean, how
the
have you
cleanup
picked out
guy
Ron
for
Klain
Democrat.
as being like
He's
this?
the message coach of Al Gore.
I worked in Democratic politics. I mean, I don't understand where you're getting this information that Ron Klain is like this nefarious person.
He's a political hack.
I don't like. You're just. It's total character assassination.
All
No,
right,
it's
so
the fact. He's a political hack. Go ahead, Harris.
You were asking me about leadership styles, and I do find it interesting that after all of the medical speak that we have heard, and some would say untruths that we've heard from the lectern, where the CDC has stood at times and told us different ways that this was contagious and then given us other ways, told us that this would not spread to healthcare workers, and then it did. I mean, out of all of that, what we've all been calling for is a point person who can talk to us like human beings. I would say, and Judge, I know you pretty well, we've worked together for a while, that an attorney at least can do one thing, and that is put forth an argument that the jurors can understand.
Right. You have to be able to break it down.
So, I mean, if there's some information that's not getting disseminated and this guy can make it more digestible, I'm all for that. But the point that Andrea brings up about comparing President Obama to someone in his own party, President Clinton, is somewhat of a fair one, because I would argue, Kirsten, President Clinton would have stood up and done this himself.
That's very true.
Okay.
Done what himself?
He would have felt the pain of it, and I'm not trying to be flippant by that. It is interesting.
I think she's saying he would have led us through this.
Yeah,
and
not the difference in the leadership styles. If we want to stay within a certain party, now if we
I
step
love
out
how
of if we
Republicans
step
love Bill
out of the
Clinton so
Democrat
much now.
Party,
So great.
and if we step out of the
It's just-
Democrat Party and we
he's,
look at
you
some
know-
of the options who would have been there, I fully understood why Andrea would have said Rudy Giuliani this week.
I
You want
mean,
to talk
really,
about
you
somebody
guys,
who dealt with anthrax scares after 9/11.
I can't
If you
believe
want to
you're
talk about
attacking
somebody
Obama
who
for
was-
appointing somebody.
Well, if you just want to talk, I'll be quiet.
Do you think it looks
I mean,
good,
you guys
though?
are just this total. You guys are just on this like the attack against.
Hold on.
doing
With
like
the
a
exception of me, I will remind everybody that it was not just Democrats or Obama's administration that wanted the czar. Senator John McCain came out of all people and was calling for
here's
an
the
Ebola
point,
czar.
and I have said it too. I have said an Ebola czar, but with the asterisk that said anybody who's not a political hack, Judge. I mean, I'm sorry, Kirsten. Have you read his resume? He's the Kennedy hitman on the Hill for judiciary. It's like having Karl Rove as, say, Bush's anthrax czar. Would you be comfortable
I'm sorry,
with that?
I didn't know Karl was so
no
offensive
way.
to you.
Do we-
I don't like. What's wrong with Karl Rove?
Because he wouldn't have a background in infectious diseases,
You
implementing
don't
battle
need a background in
strategies.
infectious
He's a political
diseases to
person.
do what he's been.
why do we- why do we have
it's better
to-
than Jen Psaki, but you know.
Why do we have to appoint one person czar in order to get the information we need? Why can't we get it, like you said,
You know
Bill Clinton
why?
would have done it himself.
Because we've had
But-
misinformation.
Clinton would not
from
have
just-
done it.
No, clearly.
from multiple lectures.
But I think I think what
why.
Americans want
And
is not
because-
somebody
But I'm-
to out there just to speak. I think what they want is action.
Yeah.
They see the Ebola risk growing day by day, and they want something concrete done.
We have a person to do this. This would be the Surgeon General. I've been asking, where is the acting Surgeon General in all of this? And I understand that the person that the president had nominated is in, kind of a political web right now. Conservatives don't like certain things about him, and those are legitimate issues. But all politics aside, we do have somebody who plays the role of being the spokesperson for the government in a crisis like this with a health issue. It's called a Surgeon
And
General.
why hasn't the
Or
Surgeon
the
General
acting
been
one. Where is that person?
explaining to us how you catch it? Because we've heard it's so difficult to catch you. Really, they pretty much have to bleed on you, and then you hear, well, it does get found in saliva. So if somebody
Well,
sneezes
that's an excellent
in your
question
eye or mouth,
that I don't know that Ron Klain will be able to answer effectively.
He's there to do damage control for Democrats and be there for specifically for political reasons. I love your idea of a general. Sandra, I'd love to know what you think about maybe someone from the private sector, a former CEO of a company.
Somebody who has
better.
proven leadership styles would certainly help, but I wish the camera was on Kirsten's
logistic.
face when you were talking just then, because it was.
She's making all sorts of faces at
Yes,
me.
she is.
Kirsten, maybe
Uh-oh.
you should have
So
last
happy.
word here.
We really do like each other, Kirsten.
They do.
All right.